What is up, humans of the cardboard? Welcome back to Just Nuts, guys. Today we've got Endymion Magistus deck profile. I'm very excited for this one. This is like almost, I think, like as competitive as you can build Magistus. Obviously, there are going to be slight changes you can make with hand traps and stuff that line up there. But I do think, like, overall, this is about as competitive as Magistus can be. And I actually think that right now is pretty damn competitive. We got some new stuff. I am playing the new Destroy Phoenix Enforcer engine in here. I think it's like too good to pass up. So I apologize for that. I know it's not budget or anything, but I'm really trying to make this deck as competitive as possible because it really didn't feel like it had a win condition. And we got a new synchro, which really helps, as well as the ability to splash something like the Phoenix Enforcer engine in here. So without further ado, let's jump into it. Let's get cracking because this deck is so cool. I cannot wait to do like test hands and stuff like that for you as well. All right, starting off with our monster lineup here. Of course, we have our triple Endymion, the Magistus of Mastery. We have triple copies of Riliona, the Magistus of Ver. Then we have double copies of Zorua, the Magistus of Flame, and double copies of Crowley, the Magistus of Grimoire. So a lot of cool stuff going on here. Just as a brief explanation on these, Riliona and Endymion are by far and away your best starters. Those are the ones you actually want to see in the hand. And just even be more, succinct on that, Endymion is by far the best starter in my opinion. He is water, which means not only does he like kind of do the same thing as Zorua, but he also offers the fact that he's water, so you can get into the Bahamut Toad line of play, which is very cool. Yeah, this deck does support Bahamut Toad plays. Very cool. And not only that, but it also has a free like Farragut kind of like just like cycle one card. Because what he does is normally in every starting combo hand, you're going to go normal summon him, equip himself with Artemis. That will give you the ability to search with Artemis. So you're going to search another monster. Usually it's Crowley, as long as you just have a discard. That's not really that important. Whatever you search, it doesn't really matter. What matters then after that with his bonus effect is that he can just destroy any spell you control to just draw a card and place a card from your hand back on the bottom of the deck. And once Artemis searches, you have no reason to have it equipped anymore. So it's literally just a free pop the Artemis you equipped, and then you get to draw and cycle one back. That is so cool because we're playing the Destroy Phoenix Enforcer package. So we're gonna be drawing the bricks sometimes, just like the two cards, and also like just you could draw extra copies of Endymion, the card that searches Endymion. Just draw extra cards that you don't need, put them back, take another draw, potentially find a nasty hand trap. Riliona is really good. She kind of just searches all your spells and traps. That gives you a lot of utility there. And then Zorua, he's good, but he's just not as good a starter as Endymion, so I like him more at 2. I want to be pulling him out of the deck more so than actually using him as my normal summon. And then Crowley is your extender. He sends any spellcaster from hand to grave to then summon himself, and then he can change his attributes. So that's how you get your 2 waters on the field, and that's really good to pair with him. I have so I don't think 3 Crowley is really necessary. I mean, like you could literally max out all these if you want to, because any 2 names is like combo, and it doesn't even always have to be 2 different names. Like double Endymion is combo. It's funny. There. And so Crowley's usually your search, so it just like really doesn't matter that you that you open him. So I don't think he's a necessary 3 of. But your additional card that's actually really good as well is Perform Age Trick Clown. This is the best card to be opening up with any of your starters, just because you're almost always going through Crowley, and then discarding Trick Clown off of Crowley is obviously insane because you just go discard off of Crowley and then immediately pay 1,000 to reborn himself. So he's a level 4 spellcaster, so he supports the rank 4 plays. He is a 1-card Verte if that's what you want. If your hand is like really kind of scuffed and you just have Trick Clown, you can just go normal Trick Clown, link it off for the Artemis, and get him back and just make a Verte for the Destroyed Phoenix Enforcer. So very cool. Just 2 of him. I don't want to go overkill on him. He's still a once per turn, but still a really cool card. Next up, you got to show off the bricks. 1 Celestial, 1 Dasher. This is all you really need for the Destroy Phoenix Enforcer package as far as the bricks go. But what's really cool, and I just made a video talking about this, is that these are not as bad bricks as like other decks. I mean, like, listen, they're still bricks. You don't really want to do anything with them. You don't want to discard them or anything. If they were spellcaster, they'd be a little more interesting because at least I could be discarding them off of Crowley. But for the most part, I think they're fine there. But at least they offer you more value down the line with a potential draw to and a potential like extension on later turns as well. Then for the hand trap lineup, finishing up our monster count here, we've got triple copies of Ash, double copies of Veiler, one Nib, and one Lancia. I'm not playing, just to throw it out there. I don't think, I'm not playing, what's it called? Crossout Designator. I'm just playing this weird lineup because we're in a new format. I think Nib and Lancia could be pretty good in the format. I just didn't know which one. So I think 1 and 1 is fine if you want to play the triple Veiler and only play one of these or find room for another just powerful one of staple. That's totally fine with me. This is more flex spot for me. I'm just trying to figure out which one of these I like more. So I'm playing them both for right now. Don't really have to explain any more of this. The only other thing I would say, I guess, is that if you play Triple Veiler, it is a spellcaster, so it is a card that you can be discarding to summon Crowley in like weird hands. So I guess it is slightly more consistent to be playing more copies of Veiler. So I would consider that, I guess. Moving on to the spells, triple copies of Spell Power Mastery. This card's kind of interesting. I'm sure this looks weird because we're not really playing an Endymion deck, but it searches any Endymion card. So we can search him. He is the only search target in the deck off of this, but it honestly doesn't matter. Like I said, double Endymion in hand is your 2-card combo. So even have opening like this plus an Endymion, or double Endymion, still gets the job done. It searches your best starter, and just by getting to this, you could literally open double of this card, and as long as you had like any other spellcaster in hand, you literally go like search the Endymion, do the Endymion to equip and search, and then you send the Artemis, and this is the card you put back. It's up to you, obviously. It depends on what else is in your hand. If you wanted to actually get rid of like a brick, maybe if you had like one of the Destiny Hero monsters, but and save this for follow-up next turn. But if it was the worst card in your hand and it's like useless to you for the rest of the turn, like shuffle it back, get another draw, try and find something a little better. And so that's why it's like so good. It's like he fixes it if you draw too many copies of it. So 6 copies of our best starter, I'm totally down with. Next up here, we have Tris Magistus. This card has 2 different effects. It's a continuous. So during your main phase, you can either special summon one level 4 spellcaster from hand. I love that it's any spellcaster, so you can even pull stuff like, what's his face? Trick Clown out of the hand. It's not any spellcaster though, so I can't pull a Veiler out just to be an extender, but it is what it is. Also, you can send this face-up card from the field of the graveyard to summon any number of Magistus monsters with different names from the hand. That actually can come up. And then also any Magistus monster that's equipped with a card can't be destroyed by battle each turn, once per turn. It's pretty cool. Just a good extender. Help you get bodies, play through interruptions, stuff like that. Speaking of playing through interruption, we have double copies of Magistus Ritra and one Monster Reborn. This card is just specifically a Reborn for a level 4 lower Magistus that also gives you the ability to protect your Magistus cards that are in your spell and trap zone, kind of like Balinx as a replacement. And then Monster Reborn, same thing, but this is once per turn. So even though this is searchable, like just having the ability to find Reborn can save you sometimes, help you play through stuff. And then one Theurgy. This card just gives you a quick effect that allows you to equip any Magistus monster from your extra deck to a Magistus monster, which is pretty cool. It really mainly comes up in situations where like I have Riliona but not Endymion and I want to get that monster search. And so the best thing to do is just this, search this, then this, equip the Artemis, and then get us a search for another monster. So it can come up, but also even if you're ending on the, it's also just utility. We'll get to the extra deck and all the utility that the extra deck monsters have when they're equipped, but even just hard drawing this is like not even the end of the world. As long as you have a Magistus monster on field, you can actually do some cool things there. All right, moving on with the spells. Of course, Triple Fusion Destiny. Sorry for the mismatch rarity, but you got to play this card. This card's insane. I don't really need to explain this. This card itself isn't really part of any combos apart from being sent off of Verte in certain combos. But other than that, if you draw this, like you're fine. Like you're crazy. One Magicalized Fusion. This is another really spicy card in the list. So if you don't know how this card works, you can. It's another potential Verte target, but also you can just banish any monsters listed on a spellcaster fusion monster from your deck or sorry, by banishing materials from field or graveyard to summon it from extra deck. That's really cool because the Magistus archetype has its own spellcaster fusion, and it's actually pretty good. It's kind of like a quick effect Snatch Steal. And so that's really nice. So it's like a fine extender. If you draw it, you just do whatever your combo is, and before you lock yourself out of like other like weird stuff, you can just plop this down and like summon the Iwas out. And it's just another target off of Verte. So later on in duels, potentially being able to just like make Verte for this is actually huge, depending on the situation. So I get it if you want to play the Dragoon package, because this card becomes a lot more interesting in the Dragoon variant, because you can not only make Dragoon and then on a later turn send this to revive the Dragoon, or summon another one, I'm sorry, banish the materials from grave to summon a second one from extra deck, or go for the Iwas play. I just still think it's like fine. I would almost consider playing more than one, because you could literally do your combo, make Verte, get negated, and then just go activate a hard drawn magicalized for Iwas. Still kind of cool. Finishing up with the spells, just have some one-offs, triple tactics, and called. Hand traps aren't the biggest deal versus this deck, but certain ones can be annoying, so called's just generically a good card. And then triple tax, it's just a one-of for me. I kind of like the idea of just playing one triple tax in index, just because like it's never a card that you really feel like you miss it. But when you draw it, it seems good. But I also just like want to have enough space for everything else that I want to fit in. So it's just a cool one-of. If you see it, you see it. If not, you're usually not even noticing it. And then the final card we play is Triple Imperm, adding to our total of 7 hand traps earlier. So 10 hand traps in the main. I like Imperm a lot. Doesn't make tactics live. Stops stuff like Verte, because Dragoon and Phoenix Enforcer are still a pain. So keeping those things a little bit out of the way, if we can, is really nice. And yeah, finishes our deck up nicely. We've got 40 in the main. It's seeming very, very consistent so far, I will say, and also very powerful. But you'll see that later on when I make the test hand / combo video. All right, into the extra deck. Triple Artemis. I'm not even sure Triple Artemis is a necessity. I think you at least need 2, which is kind of a bummer because it's one of the few expensive cards in the deck, aside from like the Phoenix Enforcer package. But I don't even think you have to play that package. You could play a more budget variant if you wanted without that. Maybe just play more hand traps and stuff. Maybe 2 magicalized fusion instead. So you do your combo and then just go magicalized fusion for an extra Iwas on top of your board. But yeah, this card's really nice. You need at least 2. 3 could probably be a wiggle spot for sure. For the Endymion stuff, a lot of stuff going on here. We have 1 copy of Riliona, the Wondrous Magistus Witch Wardrobe, 1 Ninaruru, the Magistus Glass Goddess, 1 Varam, the Magistus Divinity Dragon, 1 Zorwa, the Magistus Conflagrant Calamity, and 1 Iwas, Magistus Spell Spirit. It's honestly so satisfying to like not only be playing one of each of these, but like I think it actually might be the correct ratio, because you usually don't need that many more than 1. She can detach a material to summon a Magistus monster straight out of the deck. You're almost always summoning Zorwa off of this, because then Zorwa equips himself with something and reborns whatever you detached off of this. So you get yourself 2 more materials. Pretty good. It does lock you into Magistus for the rest of the turn though from the extra deck, so keep that in mind. And then when it's equipped to something, it can just target a monster your opponent controls, negate it. It's not a quick effect though. If that was a quick effect, this card would be huge. Unfortunately, this card's just pretty good. Ninaruru, you're never using the on-field effect. You're usually using its equip effect, which just says send 1 face-up spell you control to pop 1 card your opponent control, 1 back row. Sorry, pops only back row, so back row removal. Varam, while it's equipped to a monster, if that monster battles, you can like immediately destroy that monster at the beginning of the damage step, which is very good. So it just gives you the ability to like walk over problematic monsters. So this is like monster removal. Zorwas and the Iwas are the actual ones you're trying to end on sometimes. So Zorwa is crazy. This is the new one. On Synchro Summon, he can equip any Magistus monster from your extra deck to himself. That's really good, because if you haven't used Artemis or you haven't used any of these other effects, you get that utility. And then his second effect is a continuous effect where while he's on the field, all monster types of the types of monsters that are equipped to him are constantly, or cannot activate their effects, I believe. Right? They just cannot activate them. Yeah, your opponent cannot activate the effects of monsters with the same card type. So if you have Artemis plus like a Synchro, your opponent cannot activate Synchro or Link effects, period, while this guy is on the field. And his last effect is that if he's in the graveyard, you can target a Magistus card you control, destroy it, and if you do, special summon this card. That is so good that he like comes back so easily for like pushing for more damage, and you have outside ways of also continuing to equip him with stuff to re-establish his like floodgatiness, and that's like insanely good. And then of course you have Iwas. This is like the quick effect Snatch Steal that can like quick effect equip himself to an opponent's monster, then you steal it, and that monster's effects are negated, but it gains 1,000. In fact, any monster he's equipped to gains 1,000. So I still like having him, one, because if I am in a weird matchup like Shadal's, I do want to have a fusion Magistus monster in the extra so that I can still use Zorua to like lock them out of a lot of their stuff. And 1,000 is not bad. That makes this 39. Your opponent can't activate fusion effects. That also is like a pretty nice counter to stuff like Dragoon and Phoenix Enforcer. And then Iwas is also there for like the magicalized fusion. At the end of like combos, you just activate the magicalized, or at later turns in the duel or whatever, you can make the Verte if you never needed it earlier on to then pull out the Iwas. Very nice. All right, moving on. Bahamut, Double Toad. I'm not sure how necessary the Double Toad is. This is another potential wiggle spot in the extra. Because like there can be hands, I believe, where like you make the Bahamut, but you don't have another extender to be able to link off the Bahamut for like a Verte. And so in that situation, I'm kind of just like, okay, I'll leave the Bahamut Shark on field. I do this all the time in duels. I leave Bahamut on field, and if they can't clear the Bahamut, then I'm just going to be able to summon another Toad next turn. And it like is like the best form of follow-up the deck has. Even though there's other good forms of follow-up. So really good. And obviously Toad being able to add you back like an Endymion Engrave is really good as well, just guaranteeing you follow-up that way. So if you can go through this play, I pretty much always do it because it makes sure we're not losing to Nib. It makes sure that we're guaranteeing follow-up and an Omni Negate, and it's so good. I just think the card's like crazy. A few more generic Exceeds. Heartland Draco. This is a rank 4 deck. And this is like the best rank 4 that facilitates Zeus, and as well as being good in time. And then of course the Zeus, sometimes you just, like the deck doesn't have like great removal options. Like I said, like you have like, okay, Ninaruru pops 1 back row. He needs the battle phase to pop 1 monster. They're fine, but they're not great. And so if you need that outside removal, another way to clear fields, Zeus is your man for the job. Pretty nice. And then finishing up here, of course, the Destiny Hero, Destroyer, Phoenix Enforcer, and the 1 Verte. I also consider a second Verte because I could see duels where I make Verte to make the Forcer turn 1, and then I might want the second one to send the Magicalized Fusion for the Iwas later on. But again, Verte's like expensive as shit. So, and I don't think that's a necessary change, just something that could be slightly better. But yeah, that's going to do it for our Magistus deck profile. Very, very cool deck. I think this deck is like legitimately because of like, especially if you're going to play the Destiny Hero package, but I don't think you fully need it. I just think like stuff like that definitely helps offensively because like you could literally be playing into a board, activate everything, get everything negated, and then just go Fusion Destiny. And we obviously all know how good that can be, or we're going to learn very soon. As well as just the fact that turn 1, it gives you like an extra like insane monster you're able to end on top of what the deck already does. So your better combos can end on like Totally Awesome, Destroyer, Phoenix Enforcer, Zoro with at least 2 monsters equipped, and if you have like a 4-card combo, potentially 3 monsters equipped, so you're locking your opponent out of using 3 different types of extra deck monsters. I guess even theoretically with like the best possible hand that you could ever draw, you could also end on like Iwas as well for a quick steal and like still a card or 2 in hand for follow-up, which is really strong. So definitely, if you think this deck was always cool but you never really went for it, this is the time to do it. I do think the deck can actually play. I think it can beat any deck in the game right now. Obviously there are certain matchups that are going to be annoying, but that's every deck in the game has bad matchups. It is what it is. But please do not sleep on this deck. It is actually playable now, and I love it. I'm really into it. So that is going to do it for me here today, guys. Thank you so much for watching. As always, subscribe if you want to see more deck profiles from your boy. I also got probably in the next day or 2 test hand / a combo tutorial for this deck. Just because like it's a deck that nobody really cared about. Now it actually has like win conditions. We can actually end on powerful stuff. So I will show you both of those probably in the upcoming days over the weekend. there. So thank you so much again for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.